Deputy Niles, congratulations on being elected to PNR. Why did you want to go on the committee?
This sounds a little bit, I guess, twee, but to help Guernsey. I think that I come from a background in finance and business. Where after the election last year, I actually spent some time speaking to Mark Hellier and also to Lindsay about possible PNR roles. They encouraged me actually to look at ED, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with Sasha. Probably the timing isn't perfect for me, and it probably isn't for PNR, and it certainly isn't for ED, I'm sure. But timing is never perfect, but we are where we are, and so I'm committed to it. I put my name forward, and yes.
One committee you didn't mention then was the States Trading Supervisory Board. Well, what's your intention in that respect? Because you're not technically obliged to step down from that committee, are you?
No, and so I've spoken to Deputy Mark Hellier, and we've agreed that I'm going to stay on STSB. As you'll know in your role, Peter, that there, because it works with policy and delivering on the outcomes of that policy, there's substantial work between the two committees, and we'd like to see how we can improve the communications across it, and how we can improve the delivery of projects.
During the question and answer session, somebody asked, how would you define success? And your definition was sort of fiscal sustainability. So you're going to have a big opportunity to contribute towards that quite soon, the big fiscal debate in July. But what's your stance on what Guernsey needs to do?
Well, I'd love to give you a potted answer, but I don't have one. I looked obviously very closely at the policy letter that was issued in January that we all voted on to ensure that we took forward the work on GST and GST Plus and all the whole package. I'm led to understand that work has obviously moved forward in the interim period. So I'm very keen to have a look at the detail of all of that and to understand how it's been improved, what the delivery looks like. But there is also quite a lot of focus on how we can save money and how we can do things more efficiently. And I think it is still very much worthwhile us doing that. I think understanding efficiency in civil service and public sector delivery is important, but it's not going to solve our fiscal issues.
In fact, you said during the Q&A it would only be a relatively small contribution to sort of balancing the books. And we know that the Corporate Tax Subcommittee have said, they made some suggestions, but they're relatively small as well.
Yes.
So it sounds like, whether it's exactly GST Plus or something different, you think we're going to need to change our tax system, tax more?
I think so. So I think back to when my dad left school at the compulsory age of 14 in 1950. The social contract that the States of Guernsey had with him in those days is very, very different to the social contract that we have with our population today. And at that point in 1950, he was still paying the standard rate of income tax at 20%. And that hasn't changed, but the social contract has changed substantially. And so a revision to our overall tax regime, I think, has to be representative of what our population want from public sector.
But don't the population really want more services but not to pay any more tax? Can you deliver that?
Well, I think that sounds like utopia. We always either utopia or nirvana, one of the two. And so no, absolutely I can't, or anybody can deliver something for nothing. I think the conversation actually is much, much harder if you were to try to save your way out of this issue, and that you instead focused on some of the big budgetary issues such as education or health, and perhaps if you sliced 10% off health every year, you'd get close to it. You wouldn't completely close it, but that's the sort of level that you would have to do. So you'd have to cut wards of assistants, not beds.
Finally, in proposing you deputy to somebody said that they put you forward because you would bring something different. You're different to them, basically. I think she was saying. What different perspective do you think? How do you differ from the other members of PNR?
I think that. Well, I think we're all different. I said this in my speech that the island is faced with a massive dilemma every election time, because they have to elect 38 people that represent the community, and the community is all different, and so are we. But if you sometimes on committees we put people who are similar or perhaps have similar philosophy or ideology together, you don't get the best possible outcome from it. I think that probably my leanings are more conservative perhaps than some of the liberal leanings of those on the committee today, and I think that diversity of thought probably will help us perhaps in the way that we represent ourselves.
Okay, I wish you luck in your new role.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay,
Peter.
cheers.